Carmichael, Richard Wurmbrandt, and countless others. Cornerstone Books makes the truth available worldwide with the detail and personality of a local bookseller. Visit the website at www.cornerstone-unlimited.com for a complete inventory of its authors, as well as audio files and much, much more. That's www.cornerstone-unlimited.com. Call toll.
Welcome and good evening to everybody on the show. I gladly welcome you here to the Whole Agenda Radio Show, and I'm your host, Robert Pepino. And tonight we have a wonderful, wonderful guest. It's RENEE Colston. I'm sure that this listening audience has heard her before, but she will be on for a full 2 hours, and you're going to hear all her background, all her information, what a fabulous person she is, all the work she's done in her life, especially with animals and healing. It's really quite an amazing story, ladies and gentlemen. And just a reminder, tomorrow night we have Bob Oliver from Quantum Leap Radio, and you are going to really enjoy him. He's an incredible guy. He's had some quite incredible experiences. And right now we have Paul Landris with the news. He's going to be up in just a second, so stick around. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pepino, and Paul will be with you in just a second.
Good evening. This is Paul Landris for the Whole Agenda Radio Show with tonight's news. Nearly 800 dogs were rescued by Chinese Animal Protection. A volunteer tipped off the group that hundreds of caged animals were being loaded onto trucks and headed to various restaurants. The group dispatched a team of 5 to block the dog trader, while they posted microblogs online calling for help from animal-loving citizens. After a standoff and negotiation, the group agreed to pay the dog trader approximately $13,000 to secure the caged dog's freedom. It's a compromise we took in an effort to let the dogs free. They are visibly suffering for being packed in small cages with very limited space. We spent hours negotiating with the trader. Finally, with the help of local government, he was willing to hand over the dogs. Most dogs rescued Saturday were severely dehydrated. Rescuers photographed and registered the dogs before tending to their health. It's costly work, but workers at the center are trying their best to take care of the dogs. Since arrival, only one dog has died, and that was to a respiration system failure. On the center's official blog, the group frequently updates the dog's latest conditions. Some of the dogs were stolen, and the owners come to them to look for their pets. Once they've finished their health checkup procedures, they start finding the dogs new homes. The volunteers hope to send the general public one message: trading, no killing. A major part of their work is proposing drafts of laws. Now they can only tackle the traders one at a time. In April, 520 dogs were saved from the dinner table by the same Chinese animal rights activists, who did stop a truck carrying them in cages on a highway near Beijing. A 15-hour standoff between volunteers and the trader caused a temporary shutdown of nearby exits until an agreement was reached. Truck driver let the dogs free for approximately $20,000. The incident stirred online discussions about how far activists should go in protecting animal rights, a concept still under debate in China. Finally, there's some truth in advertising about flu shots. A CVS pharmacy is promoting flu shots using images of the Grim Reaper, the most widely recognized symbol of death. An adult Grim Reaper, complete with a sixth blade, holds a sign that reads, "Flu shots here, CVS Pharmacy." To further push the symbolism of death, a child-sized Grim Reaper stands next to the adult holding a flu propaganda sign that reads, "You versus flu." And it promotes a $5 gift card when you get a flu shot. The message is very clear. Flu shots are associated with death, and that's true because people suffer severe neurological problems or even death. On top of that, flu shots offer no scientifically validated protection against influenza. In fact, every flu shot is an experimental flu shot, given that it has never been adequately tested for safety or effectiveness. Louisiana. Now, if you buy or sell secondhand goods and you live in the state of Louisiana, you can no longer use legal tender to complete such transactions. House Bill 195 of the 2011 regular session was recently passed by the state legislation and signed into the law by the governor. And it prohibits anyone who buys, sells, trades, or otherwise acquires or disposes of junk or used or secondhand property from entering into any cash transactions in payment for the purchase of such items. Besides prohibiting the use of cash, the law also requires such dealers to collect personal information like name, address, a driver's license number, and a license plate number from every single customer and submit it to authorities. The only acceptable form of payment in such situations is a personal check, money order, or electronic transfer, all of which must be carefully documented. The stated purpose of the law, which excludes nonprofits and pawn shops, is to curb criminal activity involving the reselling of stolen goods, particularly metals such as copper, silver, and gold. But according to A&A, existing Louisiana state law already requires businesses and other resellers of secondhand goods to account for transactions, and has specific laws already on the books that address the selling of stolen goods. The new law is so broad and all-encompassing that individuals who buy and sell on sites like eBay or Craigslist using cash will also be in violation of the law. Even a stay-at-home mom who holds a garage sale with her neighbors more than once a month could be required to refuse cash from customers, as well as keep a detailed record of every single purchase made and who made it. There really is no legitimate reason for banning cash payments, especially in light of the required collection of detailed and excessive personal information. The measure is simply just another excuse for the government to spy on individuals and take away their economic and civil liberties. A devoted Iowa couple, married for 72 years, died holding hands in the hospital last week, exactly 1 hour apart. Gordon Yeager, 94, and his wife Norma, left their small town of Center, Iowa, yesterday, on Wednesday, going to town, but never made it. A car accident sent the couple to the emergency room, an intensive care unit with broken bones and other injuries. But even the hospital, their concerns were for each other. She was worrying about, her chest hurt, but what's wrong with Dad? Even laying there like that, she was worried about Dad. And the couple's son, Dennis Yeager, said, and Dad's back was hurting, and he was asking about Mom. When it becomes clear that their conditions were not improving, the couple was moved into a room together in bed side by side where they could hold hands. They joined hands, his right hand, her left hand. He died, Gordon Yeager died at 3:38 p.m. He was no longer breathing. But the family was surprised when they looked at the over at the monitor. Someone in there says, well, if our dad died, why is his heart still beating? The nurse said that the father was actually picking up his mom's heartbeat through the hand. And we thought, oh, my gosh, Mom's heart is beating through him. Norma Yeager died exactly an hour later. Dad used to say a woman is always worth waiting for. They had to wait an hour for her and held the door open for her. They always did everything together. They weren't apart. They just never were. The couple were put in a casket together, holding hands for the funeral, but were then cremated and had their ashes mixed together for the burial. Geneva. Someone got the Swiss People's Party's goat when someone stole their goats. Now, Switzerland's biggest party is celebrating the return of their mascots, a goat named Zotel and his sidekick Mimu. National SVP said the two animals were found safe, but they were completely shaved and painted black. A group calling itself Anti-Fascist Action claimed responsibility for Saturday's kidnapping. A posting said the stunt was aimed at SUV's anti-immigrant policies that have, in the past, used posters of black sheep being kicked off the Swiss flag. And then finally, for tonight, I have a health alert for you. Today's health alert. 4 ways to tell if you are a zombie. If you routinely take flu shot, vaccine, and then wonder why you still catch the flu every winter, you are a zombie. Number 2, if you find yourself mindlessly following your doctor's advice, even while your sickness gets increasingly worse, you are a zombie. Number 3, if you automatically do what you're told by police officers and authorities, you are a zombie. And then lastly, number 4, if you drink fluorinated tap water, then you are a fluorinated zombie. Well, that's it for me tonight. This has been Paul Landers for the Whole Agenda Radio Show. Robert will be right up with tonight's special guest. Thank you and good night.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Whole Agenda Radio Show, and I'm your host, Robert Pino. And tonight, we have a wonderful and incredible guest, and I'm proud to call her my friend. We have RENEE COLSTON. For more than 25 years, RENEE has been successfully utilizing her natural healing gifts professionally with animals as well as with people of all ages. Through a sequence of extraordinary events in February of 2000, RENEE encountered new frequencies of reconnective healing, and her path changed dramatically. RENEE's innate connection to animals, as well as her inherent teaching abilities, greatly enhanced the events she facilitates for the reconnective healing with animals. By popular demand, she developed a mentoring course internationally to share her wisdom with others. RENEE leads reconnective animals worldwide. She is also the founder of the Partnership in Planetary Healing, which is piphealing.org. PIPH is a nonprofit organization dedicated to easing suffering and raising consciousness. One aspect of the PIPH is to provide a vehicle to focus healing energies to Mother Earth and all that live in and upon her. Partnership in Planetary Healing brings awareness and inspiration to humanity to encourage individuals to perpetuate in a mission to create a peaceful world. RENEE, it's so wonderful to have you on the program with us. Thank you for being here.
Great to be here, Robert. I just finished a presentation on animals here at the Hilton in Universal City, so I'm pretty revved up here.
Well, I think you're always
pretty
revved up.
Pretty excited.
Hey, you're just a go-go. You're a go person. And I think that's fantastic. You know, RENEE, for anybody who's listening, or any new listeners to this broadcast, can you just, brief summary of how this all started for you, and then we can get on into all the details of everything.
Well, which part? Reconnective healing or partnership and planetary healing?
Well, I would really start with the reconnective healing and then the partnership.
Okay. Well, I think you had Eric Pearl on the other night.
Yes.
And I actually was listening when that fire alarm went off. Did he explain to you that we experience strange electrical disturbances?
He mentioned how he's experienced strange electrical disturbances when all this started happening. I was just getting ready to ask him a question when everything went haywire, and I was like, what happened?
And by the way, I was listening, and the fire alarm did not go off anywhere else in the hotel.
You're kidding.
And, no, but that is, kind of just to tell you that these new frequencies that we interact with, they definitely have an intelligence, and of course, it's a higher wisdom of the universe, God, love, universe, but things happen that just are indicators that they're saying, hello. We call them, it's the unseen. Anyway, I've been in this training program in L.A. for the last week with Eric and Doug, who also was on your program last week.
And I got to tell you, all three of you are absolutely fantastic. Really, and everybody brings something different to the plate.
Yes, we do, actually. Each one of us.
And that's what I find it so inspiring, actually, because from talking to Doug on his viewpoint and ideas. It's all the same, but there's a little separation between all of it, and I think it's just unique and incredible and fantastic all at the same time.
Well, Doug is a science guy, and he works with the research teams worldwide, and he was a chemical engineer. He's amazing. Now, Eric, he was the one that was the key that basically unlocked the door in 1993 to bring these evolutionary frequencies onto the planet. And he really his story is told by him unlike anybody else. And he's more about the philosophy and how it all started. And so it is. It's a different flavor for each one of us. However, we are really talking about the same thing.
And we are, but you just brought it to another level with, the partnership in planetary healing. I think that is, unique in and of itself, how you develop this with your own cognitive skills and the from the universe.
Right. Well, yeah, partnership in planetary healing actually was around before I met these frequencies. I was doing Reiki, actually, in 1996 when partnership in planetary healing made itself evident on Mother's Day. And that is an organization that really created itself, I have to say. It was inspired, and it was very clear very quickly that it was a focus to bring awareness and heighten consciousness and shift vibrational energy to really communicate to people what we can do to make the world a better place.
Well, Renee, what led you to that, though? The partnership with planetary healing. That's what I want to know. What led you to that, first of all?
Well, I was teaching Reiki, second-degree Reiki, on Mother's Day in 1996, and I was talking about healing the planet and how we could actually, through Reiki and using the symbols that you interact with distance healing, how we could literally address any situation or condition anywhere on the planet or in any part of our lives or anybody that we knew or didn't know. And when I was talking about, because even in 1996, we were already experiencing earth changes. We were already experiencing turbulence. We were already talking about, what can we do collectively to ease this shift through the planet and humanity with grace and ease. So I was communicating about healing the planet and addressing situations like the earthquakes and things that were happening then at an increased level. And out of my mouth came, like we're in partnership with planetary healing. And I said, wow, I like that. So I wrote it down.
Well, we are partners with the planet. I mean, we are born here, so it is our mother, and we are its child. So there is a partnership.
Everything is in partnership. That's correct. We have a partnership with all life, all of nature, humanity, and everything that lives in and upon her is definitely a partnership. We came here, and we are on a mission, all of us together, for this evolution. Anyway, it was interesting because I knew that it was an organization, and at that time up in Cave Creek, where I was living in North Phoenix, things were expanding up there rather rapidly, and nobody could get a phone line for 3 months, right? I called Quest on a Monday, and I had my phone line installed by Thursday. So there was something behind this organization to get it moving. And another thing is, the first assignments, let's call it, was that week was when that airline, was it flight number 858, crashed in the Everglades? Do you remember that?
Something briefly about it.
Yeah, well, it crashed and they couldn't find the black box.
Yeah,
to find out what happened.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking. Yes.
And it's funny. Well, okay, so this is a little slice of weirdness, but so that was a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, and I was going through walks through the desert, and I look down at the ground, and I see this rock. And I look at the rock, and I say to my friend, you know, what does that look like to you? And she said, wow, it looks kind of like an alligator. And I went, it does, doesn't it? I said, you know, I wonder what that's about. So I picked it up, and I tuned into that airline crash, and I said, you know, I think this is some kind of a sign that we're supposed to focus some healing energy into that whole situation in the Everglades about not being able to find the box. And so I started calling people that afternoon and said, okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let's, do distance healing on this whole situation. And now I don't know if it's a coincidence, and is there anything?
Well, let me stop you right there. There are no coincidences.
Exactly. I even called my mom, who knows I'm just a little strange and out of the box, but she even said, yeah, okay, that's a good idea. I'll do that, So here we are. We're focusing on, me and my, group of friends who do Reiki are focusing on the situation. And that afternoon, the man said, found the box. He goes, I don't know what guided me. I just put the stick down, and I heard this thump, and there it was. There it was.
That's incredible.
So that's kind of
that really is.
That's how it all started, and so for a couple of years, I was in a situation with a group of, a large group of people, and we had a phone line that was the focal point for the healing. Every day we changed the message, and there was always something going on in the world that needed addressed, and my goodness, it hasn't changed. There's more, and it still is going on, but it's amplified. And, because I became so entrenched in reconnection and my daily life activities and traveling globally on the international team with Dr. Pearl, partnership in planetary healing was sort of sleeping. For several years, it was still simmering, but not real active. Well, it seemed this year I was guided to really bring this organization forward, get moving, and make it more visible. So I've pulled it off of my website. It has its own website now, and it's just newly up and, of course, not complete. It's still it's live. It's going to evolve over time, and we're really focusing at this time with Partnership in Planetary Healing on teaching universal principles and demonstrating truly if humanity would really tap into how this universe works at its core, that the universe is a reflection of how we interact with it, and that we actually are empowered to create the world as we wish it to be by our very thoughts, and by moving ourselves toward positive thinking and envisioning conditions changing, not putting our attention on what is wrong, what's going on, but putting our attention on a better world, the world as we want it to be. That's universal law. These are laws that are in place. They're active in our life every single day, whether we believe it or not, or whether we think about it or not. We are creating our reality every single day. And why aren't we creating a reality in a better way? That's my question. Because it's actually simple.
Well, I think that's everybody's question, Renee.
Well, why aren't we?
Well, I mean, everybody works everybody works their jobs on a daily basis. They go through their mundane routine. I get up, I go do this, I go to the store, I come home, I watch TV,
Robots.
I do whatever, and I go to bed, and then they repeat the process over and over and over. So they're stuck in this matrix, this illusional matrix that's been created. And that's what I think people need to break away from. As a matter of fact, we had a roundtable last night. This is one of the things we were actually talking about, is stuck in this box, this matrix of make-believe, and it's not the real world. The real world, the real universe, the real intelligence is still waiting for us to catch up.
We have it all become robots, but mass consciousness is very influenced by media, and is very influenced by fear. And I do feel like many, many, many people globally have been brought down to their knees and are very desperate because of what's happening on the planet, and people don't know that we're empowered to climb out.
Well, we have all the power, Renee, and that's the point I was trying to get to.
We are.
If we simply just said, no, we're not doing this anymore. As a race of human beings, we all stood up and said, we're not doing this anymore. This power structure would crumble within days, hours. It would fall apart.
This is where you and I differ a little bit, Robert. I don't put my attention on that. I put my attention on, no, I don't really like all that control in those situations that, how we're being manipulated by fear and so on, but rather putting my attention on that, and by the way, creating more of it, because the law of attraction says that where you focus your attention, you create. So why would we create more of that?
I agree, but I'm not saying create it. I'm simply stating the fact that if we understood how we've been manipulated, we could simply walk away from it. That's my whole take on it. It's not fear-based. I'm saying, wake up, sheeple. It's time to get up and smell the coffee. It's not fear-based. This is common sense-based. Wake up. The world is waiting for you. Wake up so you understand that this is really not your life. The life that these people have created, this illusional 3D matrix, that's all it is. And once you wake up from it, like I have, and you and so many others, and are in tune with all these new frequencies and the earth changes that are taking place, once people are shaken out of their foundation and realize this, that's where everything changes. But Renee, I want you to hold it right there, because I know we have a lot to talk about. We're coming up on a break here right now. So everybody stick with us. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pepino, and you are listening to the incredible, wonderful, and I can call her my friend, Renee Colston. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
It's hard to imagine, when things are going reasonably well, just how quickly things can change. But what would it take? Economic collapse? Massive crop failure? Chemical or biological attack? So many situations could find you in the grocery looking to pick up food for your family, only to find that the shelves are empty. There's nothing. Don't let that happen. Act today to make sure that if it ever comes to that, you and your family will be provided for. Visit freezedryguy.com to look at the wide variety of survival foods available. Freeze-dried foods from the Freeze Dry Guy store longer, rehydrate faster, are nutritionally superior to, and taste better than any other long-term storage food available. Visit freezedryguy.com or call toll-free 866-404-3663. FreezeDryGuy.com.
Quality of water you're drinking. PerkyWater.com.
Concerned about price and quality bottled water.
PerkyWater.com.
Concerned about natural and or man-made contaminants in your water?
PerkyWater.com.
PerkyWater.com. Or call 888-803-4438.
That's 888-803-4438.
Berkey, because the water you drink may not be as clean as you think.
The people who had the spirit of Antichrist, they are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, naturally. And the world heareth them because it recognizes its own language. But we are of God. He that knoweth God heareth us.
These are the words of 20th century prophet A.W. Tozer. He is the author of over 40 books that you aren't likely to find at your local Christian bookseller. So where can you go to find such inspiration? Introducing Cornerstone Books, with the largest selection available of the writings of A.W. Tozer, Amy Carmichael, Richard Wurmbrand, and countless others. Cornerstone Books makes the truth available worldwide with the detail and personality of a local bookseller. Visit the website at www.cornerstone-unlimited.com for a complete inventory of its authors, as well as audio files and much, much more. That's www.cornerstone-unlimited.com. Or you can call toll-free at 888-239-9890. That's 888-239-9890.
Welcome back, everybody. This is The Whole Agenda, and I'm your host, Robert Pepino, and you are listening to RENEE COLSTON, a very good friend of mine, and she is the founder of Partnership and Planetary Healing, and she is part of the Reconnection. And we were just getting into the fact of, you know, if people could say, well, I was saying to her that if people could simply understand, if they would wake up from the Matrix, we would find ourselves in a brand new, enlightened world of love, peace, and harmony and wisdom. So it wasn't fear-based what I was saying, Renee. I was just simply saying that people just need to wake up, that they have been controlled and manipulated, because if they break out of that fear basis, that's all it is. It's the illusion of the fear. And they can break away from it.
I would love to ask a question of your listening audience. And
ask away.
you. So how do you think that is going to happen? How does it happen? How can we facilitate that awakening?
By what we're doing right now.
By the way, the people who are listening are not the ones that we're talking about.
Who need to hear this? I know.
Exactly. And the people who need to hear this and know this are not the ones going to the Partnership and Planetary Healing website or to, you know, meditations. And so how do we do it? You know, there's a page on the PIF website that talks about, you know, you are essential. One person can make a difference, and every person can have a positive impact on everything else. I mean, when are we going to wake up to that? That everything that we do has a ripple effect out, not just onto the planet, but our choices on this planet are actually impacting the universe at large.
Absolutely, because
so we know that, and your listeners know that. But what about the people who are just getting up and going to work, and who have become really robotic? And you know, how does this message get out to them? Well, I'm going to say this: for many people, it's not going to. So it's up to those that are in touch with the awakening and with the love, that they can actually just emanate love from your heart to any situation, and it can shift all that is. It can. So we need to reach out to our circle of friends and to the people that we know and the people that we come in contact and live by example.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, I try and speak to people on a daily basis. I mean, it's not
Well, you
always
do, Robert.
there. It's presented for
do.
me, but I'm sorry, what?
You absolutely do. You know, tonight at my presentation on animals, and the focus is reconnective healing, but, you know, I have a much bigger message that I share on, you know, a planetary consciousness way about how do we shift things like have you seen the news about the wild animals that were living in captivity in Ohio?
Of course.
Of course, who hasn't, right? Well, I hope that situation is a higher teaching point for an issue that is at hand. And the issue at hand is, that isn't right anyway, to hold wild animals in captivity in residential areas. Now, I don't know how that whole thing happened, but this is a way that people are seeing to the degree of what we have done to animals.
Well, we basically enslaved them the way we enslaved ourselves, is the way I see it.
That's true. That's true. And when issues come into our vision, you know, usually through mass media, I try to look at the situation from a higher perspective and going, okay, so where can we go with this? First, we have to be aware of something. Now, if we go out and fight this, can we make a difference? Can we change it? I mean, I think it's wrong. But what I want to see is a world where that doesn't exist. And I do believe that we are empowered to literally take our reality like a canvas and say, you are not liking what you're seeing out there in that world, then just paint the picture of it as you want it to be. I know I sound a little bit like Pollyanna, right?
Well, you sound a little bit like me.
But I believe that this is the way of the future, that we are so empowered and we have such creative potential, and we can create through our essence, which is love, to shift and change this world. And the whole world is not going to wake up. I know you've got George Green coming on. You know, he has been monumentally influential in my life. It took me 2 years to get through those 4 books. You know
well, but he's been influential in a lot of people's lives
because
he was in the elite circle, and he broke away and said, look, I'm not doing this anymore.
That's right, but what he did is he, you know, opened himself up, and he put pencil to paper, and he brought this information through from whoever these beings are that shared that information. And I'm telling you, just by reading those books, it took, like you said, it's not easy. It took me 2 years. Handbook to the New Paradigm took me the longest. The second one was a little easier. The fourth one was like I read it in 5 minutes. But
right.
There's encoded information in that book that actually does bring light into your cells and starts waking you up. I'm trying to get those books into the hands of every person I can, and I've gotten them into the hands of a lot of people, but not everybody reads them.
Well, you know what you can do, Renee, and I just thought about this. On your website, once it's fully up, get a hold of George and see if you can copy the PDF files and post that on your website so people can read that.
Well, actually, I have to say that, now the web designer did not post this yet, but I have said, literally, that the information on piphealing.org is seeded with that information. It is. Because I talked to George. I did talk to George. I called him. We have actually a ongoing, phone conversation. And he said, yeah, you use it however you want to use it. And yes, we're going to put links on this website to nohoax.com. So clearly, the information says that we have to meet that critical mass, that not every human being on the planet is going to wake up and see the light, so to speak. The 100th Monkey is also another book, that
you're right.
Since the 1950s, and it's seeded with a lot of really interesting information. And most people do know about the 100th Monkey. One night I woke up and I was, people are going to think I'm hearing voices. But I woke up and I understood that I was supposed to go get that book off my library shelf and open it to page 144. Do you know what page 144 of the 100th Monkey says?
No, I'm
Why
waiting for
would
this because this is going to be really good.
You are essential. Yeah. So it's talking about the 100th Monkey. 100th Monkey is the critical mass theory. And I was teaching Reiki at that point in my life. That was back, in the early 90s. And I started sharing that. I started printing out the 100th Monkey story. And the last page on that handout was, you are essential. Because if each one of us who's awake isn't going to take some personal responsibility to reach out and take the hand of somebody who's living in a robotic way, who just cannot see their way through, just take their hand and share your love.
Renee, you hit the nail on the head right there. If people are not going to take responsibility in helping themselves and awakening others, then they are just as responsible as the sociopaths who have constructed this tyrannical oligarch system. You are 100% right.
Well, personal responsibility is a big deal,
And nobody wants to take it. And ask yourself why we have so many lawyers and judges on the planet.
Well, personal responsibility can start in really small ways. Another...
I'm just giving the overall picture.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to, even for the planet, recycling, just for instance. I have a lot of friends that it surprises me that they don't recycle. And I said, it's not that hard. Oh, well, we don't have recycling in our neighborhood. Now, this is just a really, it's not a small thing, but it's just like an item of personal responsibility. And I said, actually, it's not that hard. You separate it, just recycle more than you throw away. Just look at it like that. Measure. You throw away that trash can that's half full, you recycle a trash can the same size that is full. If you can't be like that woman who recycles everything, did you hear about her?
No.
There's not one thing this woman throws away.
Ever.
Maybe she goes, anyway. It's one thing, but that's personal responsibility. Another level of personal responsibility that can shift the planet is being aware of yourself as a consumer. Being aware of how do those products get to the shelf in the market? What kind of laboratory testing is going? Do you want to participate in that? What has occurred in order for those items to land in your kitchen cupboard or your bathroom cupboard or whatever it happens to be? Take some personal responsibility for your choices on all levels. That's how you treat people. That's what you buy. That's what you, how you interact out in the world. That's how you respond. We all have choices. How we respond, how we act, what we do, that's our choice. Nobody else is making those choices but us.
But I want to add something here real quick. I also say that there is so much useless garbage created on a daily basis by so many manufacturing companies which are completely unneeded. Think about...
Well, that's why we have to be responsible for our participation in allowing that to continue. We have something to say about that by the products that we buy.
But that's the point I was trying to make. Think about when we were using glass bottles compared to plastic bottles. Plastic bottles now have to be recycled and have to be put through a system of recycling where glass, okay, you could take that glass, break it up, and it will disintegrate and degenerate back into the form that it came from the planet and simply regenerate itself. But this, you use these plastic products, which are compounds of oils, okay, manufactured through a synthetic process, which takes hundreds of thousands of years for this stuff to break up, degenerate, and then be usable again. They have used these products and systems against us, and against themselves, by the way. So they have made this task more difficult than it ever should have really have been for humanity on the planet. But it's this incessant behavior of creating all of this useless stuff that we don't need to perpetuate the behaviors that exist now.
They exist because we have allowed them to continue, Robert. Without consumers, these companies that are producing these toxic products could not continue.
Point. I don't want them to continue. That's my whole point. They don't need to be there.
Well, they don't, but then people have to take personal responsibility to stop participating in the products. It's got to stop somewhere. That's my point. We go into a store and we don't even think about how the stuff got there, and we don't, you know. Do you know that Amway, for instance, was the first company in the United States that actually stopped using animals in their laboratory for testing?
Yes, I did know that.
Isn't that amazing? And you know why? The guy said who owned it, he walked into his, whoever's head of his science department was, and said, in 40 days, I want this fully productive with no animal testing whatsoever, and it happened. And see, in most companies, whatever the changes that people are pressuring companies to make changes and implement changes, their excuse is that's going to take us 12 years. We'll start now, but it's going to take 12 years.
Right, but it's an excuse
arbitrary, by the way,
made by bureaucrats. But when the owner of the company, who's the private owner of the company, says, we're changing this, he says jump and everybody else says hi because he's writing the paychecks. And that could take place on a planetary level. And this is exactly what you're saying and I'm saying. I guess we're just saying it from a little different perspective, that all this useless garbage and all this, this testing on these poor, helpless animals, okay? And they have feelings, they have minds, and they have souls. And I believe that, okay?
Of course, I believe that. I know that to be true.
Yeah, and I do too, Renee. And the point
is, it is changing, but not fast enough.
The inhumanity of it all.
The United States is the most archaic, actually. Europe is leaps and bounds ahead of the United States in the decrease of animal testing in laboratories. But that's not all. I mean, it goes back to the people. If we are looking at the labels and we are doing some research, because after all, we have this worldwide internet that we can use for more than just, watching movies. We can actually do some research on the products that we are putting on our table and in our cupboards, and we can make a difference simply by paying attention and not paying for the products. But switching, yes, it might cost a little bit more in the beginning, but how else are things going to change other than through the pocketbook of the corporations that are continuously producing these products that are harmful to humanity and to the planet?
But again, you have to look at the bigger picture of this, and this is what I always go to with you, is that you have to look at who's funding what and for what reason. You have the luminous higher oligarchs who fund these large multinational corporations who infiltrate our Congress with their lobbyists in order to pass these laws in order to produce this toxic, worthless garbage upon the American people. So
the American people have a choice not to buy it. I'll just give you an example. They have a choice not
to buy it, but the problem is that they are so littered with all the media on a daily basis that they don't think. And this is what's happened in this country worldwide. People do not use their brains. And this is my point. We need to wake people up. Start using your mind. Understand how you're being manipulated. Once you realize you've been manipulated, then you can break the chains.
A good example is Wayne Pacelli. I've mentioned him before. He's the president of the United States, the Humane Society of the United States. This man has made a huge impact on animals, not just in the USA, but humane treatment of animals, agribusiness. They're not just about, socialized pet keeping of dogs and cats. He's the overall big picture on animals. And, things are changing because the demand for the products have decreased. Like the whaling has changed. There's now an industry whales are now being honored and watched. I mean, now there's industry where people pay to go out on boats to actually joyously observe whales rather than having them slaughtered. That's changed. The baby seals, that's changed because you know why? Nobody wants the seal, the little furs anymore. So It comes back down to consumption. Yes, I get the bigger picture, Robert, that there are these, the people whoever they are, the theys, right?
Right.
But again, if there aren't consumers for these products, they're not going to continue to manufacture them.
And I agree with you.
We just have to take some personal responsibility. Anyway, so there you go.
Well,
what next?
Oh, well, I wanted to get into the animals because you know how much I love animals. I really want to get into animals. We got like about 5-6 minutes before we go to break, so I want you to start it off because I got a bunch of questions for you.
Okay.
I really do. So go ahead and start it off, and when we go to break, I'll let you know.
Okay. Well, I just did this presentation, and tomorrow, I'm doing this great fundraiser for the Gentle Barn, which a lot of people have heard of because Ellen DeGeneres talks about the Gentle Barn a lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Was she there? Was she there?
Well, not tonight. Tomorrow she won't be either. But we are going to the Gentle Barn. It's just, a point of reference for people. She loves animals. Anyway, the healing work that we're doing is really evolutionary, and I talk about not only is healing about, dis-ease on the physical level. We are talking about emotional healing and mental healing, and my little dog is with me. That he was found tied to a utility pole a few months back. Somebody left him there, I don't know, to die. And this dog's perfect. I mean, he's sweet, he's gentle, he's loving, he's bringing everybody joy here in Universal City that he sees. But today, a little dog, this is just goes to show you, I thought he had a really extraordinary healing because he is such joyful, but this little dog broke out of a box and just attacked him. Now, he's been in this seminar with Eric Pearl and Doug and the whole team, the international team, all week long, and he's been quiet and behaved and in harmony. He got attacked by this dog, and then it brought up all of his old stuff again.
Right.
Then he saw a big dog, and he was angry at the little dog. This is how we work, right? He was angry at the little dog, so he's all mad, so he attacks the big dog, right? So he goes after this big dog that was coming into my presentation. I scoop him up. I went, uh-oh, that's not good. And I handed him over to somebody in the seminar. I said, okay, he can't go with me into my presentation because he's, angry right now. But isn't that what we do?
Right.
Isn't that how we behave? Anyway, he never.
Well, any person with a conscience would not behave that way. But people
people have a choice not to respond in that way. Get angry and say, I'm so mad at the way that person treated me, so now I'm going to go make this other person miserable, and I'm going to beat up on that person. People do that. We're supposed to be conscious and aware.
Let me give you an example, Renee. It's like having a really bad day at work and coming home and having an argument with your wife because somebody really upset you at work.
That's right. So the wife is bearing the brunt of the passivity from what happened at work, so to speak.
Right.
So it goes back, again, to us making choices, and we have responsibility, and we have the freedom to choose how we react. Now, the dog, he was just being a dog. He's just being a dog. That's what they do, But we as people have to make better choices, and it's, we're back to people again. I'm sorry, because I just had to go.
That's okay.
I just looked at that, and that's a teaching tool. You know what? That's a dog. He has issues. He's clearly been abused, and the dog beat him up, and so he was going to go after the big dog because he probably thought the big dog was going to beat him up. But we have more, I don't know, I'm not going to say we're more intelligent, actually. I would want to insult the animals.
Good point.
But at any rate, the person. I wish I had my friend Patrice here, because remember when you asked about the dolphins? Do you remember that?
Yes, of course.
A couple times ago. Well, I asked her about that because you thought I could communicate with dolphins, and did I think that they were, trying to communicate when they were making those sounds? And I said no, because I actually thought that it would be more of a telepathic communication between animals and people. And it is, by the way. But I asked her that question. I said, so, Patrice, you've been around the dolphins? And she actually has been around the dolphins a lot. And so I asked her, has she ever really outright communicated with them? And she said, no, because I'm really not that kind of a communicator. She's not an animal communicator. But I can tell you that I know when they're around or when they're coming close, because she goes, I hear this high-pitched ringing in my ear, and every time I hear that, then a dolphin shows up.
Well, then that is intuitive communication from the dolphins.
Or, yeah, but they're not making the sound. You know what I mean by that.
But I know what you mean. But I'm saying she's hearing
it's a signal,
so she knows they're around.
Yes, there's a communication coming from somewhere, because that's her signal that there are dolphins nearby.
So maybe that's how they're communicating with her, but she's just not realizing that is the communication vessel that they're using to alert her. And she's only understanding it as, oh, this is what I'm feeling, instead of saying, oh, they're communicating. No,
she's aware that there's a communication. She's not sure, exactly who's communicating it. But she knows that when she hears that sound, that's a clairaudient sound.
All right.
It's not,
Renee,
not
we
in
got
the
to hold it
physical
right
world
there,
that she's
we're
picking
coming
it
up
up.
on a break, hon.
Okay.
Okay, so everybody stick with us. This is The Whole Agenda. I'm your host, Robert Medino, and you're listening to RENEE COLSTON, my friend, Partnership Planetary Healing, and wonderful, intuitive, intelligent, and very enlightening person. And I want everybody to stick around. We'll be right back after the break.
Quality of water your is drinking?
PerkyWater.com.
Concerned about the price and quality of bottled water?
PerkyWater.com.
Concerned about natural and or man-made contaminants in your water?
PerkyWater.com.
It's PerkyWater.com. Or call 888-803-4438.
That's 888-803-4438.
Perky, because the water you drink may not be as clean as you think.
The people who had the spirit of Antichrist, they are of the world, therefore speak they of the world. And that's true. And the world heareth them because it recognizes its own language. But we are of God. He that knoweth God heareth us.
These are the words of 20th century prophet A.W. Tozer. He is the author of over 40 books that you aren't likely to find at your local Christian bookseller. So where can you go to find such inspiration? Introducing Cornerstone Books, with the largest selection available of the writings of A.W. Tozer, Amy Carmichael, Richard Wurmbrand, and countless others. Cornerstone Books makes the truth available worldwide with the detail and personality of a local bookseller. Visit the website at www.cornerstone-unlimited.com for a complete inventory of its authors, as well as audio files and much, much more. That's www.cornerstone-unlimited.com. Or you can call toll-free at 888-239-9890. That's 888-239-9890.
It's hard to imagine when things are going reasonably well just how quickly things can change. But what would it take? Economic collapse? Massive crop failure? Chemical or biological attack? So many situations could find you in the grocery looking to pick up food for your family only to find that the shelves are empty. There's nothing. Don't let that happen. Act today to make sure that if it ever comes to that, you and your family will be provided for. Visit freezedryguy.com to look at the wide variety of survival foods available. Freeze-dried foods from the Freeze Dry Guy store longer, rehydrate faster, are nutritionally superior to, and taste better than any other long-term storage food available. Visit freezedryguy.com or call toll-free 866-404-3663. freezedryguy.com.
Welcome back, everyone. This is The Whole Agenda, and I'm your host, Robert Pepino, and I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning into this broadcast. And we've been talking with RENEE Colston, my very good friend of the Partnership in Planetary Healing, and she is part of the Reconnection. We were just getting into her phase of all this, which is the reconnection between human beings and animals and forming that partnership of love, wisdom, peace, love, and light. And RENEE, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off at the break, but you were just getting ready to get into something.
Well, I probably lost track of that, but I will say thank you for the reminder on that we're partners. If mass consciousness of humanity recognized that we are in partnership with this planet and with all life that lives in upon her, and treated all life as sentient beings with awareness, feelings, emotions, sensitivity, and that they deserve respect, and that their needs may be different than human beings, but they are still deserving of respect, and they have a place on the planet, and many of them within society, I think that we would live in a different world already. Because
you
who
said
is
that
it
right.
that said how a culture treats the animals? Who is it? Was it Gandhi? Anybody out there know that quote?
I think so.
Anyway, it is a direct reflection of society. How the animals in that society are treated is a direct reflection of who that society is at their core.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, we haven't even learned to treat ourselves with dignity, respect, and love, and yet we're going to treat animals that way. And it's just beyond me how we treat ourselves as human beings. It's so hard to put in words sometimes, RENEE. I mean, you watch the violence that takes place on a daily basis. I mean, you have people killing each other over the most insignificant stupidities that could ever matter. Okay? And if we can't even do that, how are we going to live in harmony with all species on this planet? And this, because I love human beings, I love animals, I love this planet. It is my birthplace. It is my home as well as everybody else's home. And what it has given us is incomprehensible to what we have taken from her, including the animal life forms on this planet. And we are part of that life form. We are animals. And once we realize that the stupidities, the insignificant nuances which people feel that are so important and so prevalent are put aside, we can live in harmony with ourselves and with our four-legged friends or two-legged friends. And I'm looking forward to that day, Renee. I really am. And I told you the story about...
I have to give humanity some kudos on some level, Robert, because I will say this. When disasters have happened in recent years, things have changed. How animals are treated, that they are providing facilities for people with their pets. You know, that changed with Katrina. That changed. We are capable of change, and we are changing. And as a matter of fact, I have to say this also. When disaster happens, over time and time again, human beings have shown that we do rise to the occasion through the love in our hearts. We reach out and we help one another. Unfortunately, it doesn't take long before we all go back to our own little material world, and then it happens again, and we are again shown that we rise above our own situations, and we are there to help one another. I know that that is our nature. I know that is the nature of human beings, that we have hearts and we have the ability to love one another and to be there for one another. It's really who we are at our core. It's just that there's so much going on in the world, and there has been. I mean, we are a worry planet. And I think that if the light, we are all transmitters and receivers of light.
Absolutely.
In fact, I'm sure that Doug DeVito spoke of that. And the new frequencies of healing, see, the Earth is changing. And so, therefore, there are more frequencies, there's more evolutionary bandwidth available, and there are more people who are actually, their essence is tapping into this new level of being. That is our hope. And actually, that's why we are all so focused with the reconnection to continue traveling. And, listen, I travel a lot, but I'm going to say it's nothing in comparison to Eric Pearl and some of the other people on the team that none of us really have much of a personal life because we are all really so focused on going around the world and sharing this light and information. But as people are soaking in these new frequencies, and as they are immersed in them and they become part of the essence of who they are, and that's happening with animals as well, it starts transmitting and being received by other people around them and the animals. It's just not happening quite as quickly as we'd all like to see it. But I know that we, as human beings, are capable of healing this world and honoring each other and being one. That's what we're here to do. We are here to evolve. There's one question I think that is prevalent in the Handbook for a New Paradigm is think about, why are we here? We are here to experience, and we are here to evolve.
To learn lessons, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, how are we doing? We have the capacity to do this. We all do. I'd love to get any feedback from anybody out there if they have some ideas on, what are they doing? What are people doing to make a difference?
Let me give out the number. For anybody who wants to call to the show and speak to Renee about this, because this is a deep subject, the animals on this planet have given so much of themselves to us. Look at how dogs, one of the loyalist animals on the planet, behave towards our inexcusable, incomprehensible behavior towards them and many other species of this planet. But the number is 1-888-747-1968, and I encourage you to call in because it is just because we are on top of the food chain, it does not give us any excuse to behave the way we have been behaving for millennia towards our species, not our species, but our animal species on this planet, who we think we can treat as we will because we think they do not have the intelligence we do. And I would beg to differ, because let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, And all the animals on this planet have the sixth sense. They are very aware and awake and very telepathic. We're the ones who have been closed off to the telepathy that we've always had, and now we are trying to rediscover as our humanity is starting to go into this new frequency, this new level of understanding. And like you said earlier, Renee, not everybody's going to wake up, and of course George says that. And, you know, I'm optimistic. I want everybody to wake up, of course.
Well, not everybody's going to, but we don't all have to, Robert. There is that critical mass point.
But being optimistic, I'm always the optimist because I love human beings. I love all beings. And I know it's fantastical in the sense, but, you know, we're all here to learn. I wish everybody would just grow up and learn.
Well, you know, we don't have all day.
Yeah. Good point.
Somewhat curtain call.
Yeah, well, the 12th hour is at hand, I guess, or the 11th hour, however they say that.
On one hand, time seems like it's speeding up. On the other hand, we're really getting more done. So there's always hope. You know, if there was no hope, oh my goodness, there's always hope. You know, another thing that it says in the Handbook for New Paradigm is, you know, don't forget you're on the winning side, which means there's always going to be hope. But we have to make it happen.
You're right. You're right. We do have to make it happen. And on a lighter note, you know, Renee, I really talk about how you reconnect people in this partnership with, you know, the animal and the human side of things. I've always found that fascinating.
Well, part of, you know, partnership in planetary healing's cause, I think, right after Katrina and ever since, has been a lot of the focus has been on animals and getting people to recognize that pets are partners, they're not property, that we have to stop, not we, you and I, but people need to stop looking at the pets and the animals in their life as an ownership question, because we don't own them. We are caretakers, we are guardians. And when we shift our consciousness to recognize that they do have their rights, and just because they don't talk like we do or act like we do doesn't make them less than we are. They are our partners. In fact, I did little fundraising bandanas for pets that are gone. I mean, they're all gone, but pets are partners, not property. And people would look at those and they would go, well, that's so true. And I go, you mean you didn't know that before you saw the bandana?
Right.
They are our partners, and I recognize their peace in the wake-up call of humanity, because when you talk about some of the levels of abuse, and my God, you know, look at agribusiness. You know, there's a lot of abuse in that, but I don't want to get all negative on that and look at that. I want to say this, that as things are changing with those situations, it is an indicator that people are changing and things are uplifting. And you know what? Those things are changing, Robert. In, you know, where we live in Arizona in 2008, a law was passed on the humane treatment of farm animals. I mean, things are changing, and I think that we need to start pointing out that there are a lot of changes. It's been worse. Things are changing. Things are evolving. Things are lifting. It just is, it's hard to see because there's so much that appears to be darkness going on. Because, listen, they don't have very many positive news broadcasts. Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, let alone positive, but how about just coherent and honest?
Well, yeah, but here's another way to look at it. As things are elevating in what appears to be major crises on this planet, I'm going to have to say that things must be changing equally into the light. We're just not seeing it. I know I have a saying that is, the beauty of reality is often hidden behind a veil of illusion. And through these scenarios that have come into our viewpoints over the years, that's what has made things change. I'm just a little frustrated that things are not the way we would like them to be right now.
Well, Renee, we have a caller. You want to feel like taking a call?
Yes.
Okay, well, it looks like we have Renee in Arizona. Renee, you are on the broadcast. Welcome.
Good evening to both of you. You guys are doing a very interesting subject, which is great. But Renee, what can we really do? Because every time I talk to people and try to kind of open their mind into the universal field and meditation and so on and so forth, it's just like they close their ears. They just don't want to listen. And I try to make them understand that whatever we do, it is a responsibility, and whatever we think, there it is, because a thought becomes a reality. I mean, I've been living my life that way always. I picture things, I see them and I feel them, I throw it into the universe, and then I go on from there. So, and also, the thing that I noticed that a lot of people really do not have respect to themselves or other people or animals, since we're talking about animals. Some of them are very abusive. And on the other hand, I have observed that some people treat animals better than human beings themselves. It's a very complex discussion that we're having here. So maybe you could enlighten me and some of the other listeners. How do we get across to the people that have closed ears to really what's coming very soon? Because there are going to be major changes, all kinds of changes, good changes and bad changes. I'm going to let you talk now.
Well, Renee, that's a great question. Thank you. I think that we always have to remember that a lot of times when people don't want to listen, they don't want to hear things because they're so overwhelmed and they feel lost. They don't know what they can do. But I have one simple exercise that can easily be shared. And it is that every time we just take an action of stopping a negative thought, it's, we know when it's coming up, just stop it. Just stop it right then. Don't allow that thought to continue. And every time we stop a negative thought, we are actually shifting the energy. We're having an impact on the energy all around us and the people connected to us, and we actually move toward a more positive outcome. If we continue to communicate negativity and focus on the negativity, that is what we are going to create. Robert, I have another person who just walked into my hotel room. I'm going to do this to her. She works with children.
Okay.
And this, is that all right? No, there's someone's over there. And I'm going to get Holly, this is Holly Hawkins, who is
great.
Amazing. Are we on break yet?
Not yet.
Holly works with
break
kids.
In about 8-9 minutes.
About 8. I would love to get Holly's input on how we can shift the world into a better place and what we can do to offer people who are feeling lost and feeling like they close their ears to any changes, or they just don't want to hear about what's going on. I think we need to be a little more compassionate in our communication with them. And maybe if we say, I understand that it's really difficult to talk about this, and I understand that it's a scary place right now, but could we just take a moment?
No. I do that, and actually my motto is I never force anybody into anything, because I believe that the karma, I don't want that karma on myself. Now, the only thing that I can do is make a suggestion or put a book in their hand or make a phone call or a piece of advice, and then it's in their hands. You know where I'm going with this, because anytime you force anybody that is the wrong thing to do because everything has to be of free will, as you know. Okay? And actually, I'm always, even when I'm out shopping or any place I'm at and I meet strangers, through my thoughts, I wish them well. I wish them health. I wish them fortune,
In the Jesus sense, you know what the teaching of Jesus was, right?
Mm-hmm.
To knock the dust off your feet and move on.
That's correct. That's correct.
That is correct. So sometimes I guess you have to do that if you've tried and tried and tried and you're speaking into, deaf ears. You have to move on to the next one and just know that maybe it's all in numbers.
Yes, but
maybe it's all the way it's supposed to be because there are no coincidences in life. So when you put that thought forward to somebody and you say, well, this is what I know and I believe this is what things are, they can choose to look at it and investigate it and further it in their own life, or they simply choose to ignore it. Either way, there are no coincidences because you're doing exactly what you need to do.
But Robert, and these same people, they'll come to you and complain how everything is going wrong in their life. So you try to say, well, every action is a reaction for it. So you need to think. You need to meditate on what's really going on. What are the issues? The issues are very, very important. Let go. You need to forgive, because without forgiveness, you cannot move forward. And
Renee, I agree. But the point I was trying to make was that it is not their karma, it is your karma. You are simply putting forward what you feel necessary to put forward to other people. Whether they accept it or not is entirely up to them.
That's right. Well, that is true, for sure.
Right, but I was just trying to make the point.
Seeds.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to see, or you're also trying to make the point to them, if this is going wrong right now, you need to look back to what brought you to this point. You see? And therefore, if you want to change your future path from this point, well, you need to change things in your life. Correct?
Or sometimes things just change because that is part of the evolutionary process of the universe. Change is inevitable no matter whether you accept it or not.
Correct. Or, on the other hand...
change is happening, that's for sure.
No, but...
We might as well make the changes positive, because changes are going to happen one way or the other. That's the only thing that's constant, right?
Yeah, well,
one at a time, ladies. I can't hear both of you.
Sorry. Sometimes we have to go through hardships in order to learn what the lesson is and to go on to the next step. And I really believe in that. And there's reasons above our knowledge why things happen. And hardships and pain sometimes is what liberates people also, because it'll bring them to a certain focus of what really they need to do, and to put themselves out there into the universe and let everything go. Go ahead. Did you have something to add to that? Okay, well,
it looks like Holly is only maybe, I just want, because we're about to go to a break, right, in about 5 minutes or 4 minutes?
Yeah, about 5 minutes.
Well, Holly's she's, could you just give us a little insight on how you think children, just a couple minutes of your wisdom on children, and because Holly feels very strongly that children are the answer to our future.
I agree.
You can't hear. Yeah, you can. You can pick it up. Hit line 1, I think. There you are. Here she is. This is Holly Hawkins.
Hi, Holly. Welcome to the
program. By the way, Robert, Holly is the woman I talked to you about last week. She does Akashic record readings.
Yes.
As well as interacts with kids on a really high level. Hello, Robert.
Hi, Holly. Welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Holly.
So you tap into the Akashic records, and you're saying that the children are really the key to the future of our humanity and to the future of the planet?
Well, I believe so, and this actually is unrelated to, you could tie it into the Akashic Records, but the work I've been doing for the last many years is a program called Reconnective Kids, and I've been the director of the program, and we actually teach this form of energetic healing to children as young as 4 years old. And I've worked with children my whole life, and I was a public school teacher, and I just have a passion for working with children and helping them become more fully engaged with life in a positive way. When I got involved in Reconnective Healing and was asked to help develop this program called Reconnective Kids, I think it's the perfect way for us to see a positive future. From my point of view, we're at where we're at from anyone's perspective. It doesn't matter whether you think the world's going to end next week or by the end of this week or never or whatever it might be. The point is we're at a tipping point within our world and in our universe, and so the way I look at life is that we need to do something different for the future to be different. And from that point of view, the way we do something different is to give different tools to our children. If we teach them the same things that we have, then we're going to get the same results. So this healing that we teach the children how to do, where they learn how to heal themselves and others in 2 hours, they learn how to do distance healing, working with pets. They actually learn and live the interconnectivity of all living beings on the planet and in the universe. And when they start living from that place, then they don't look at the world the same way. They don't look at a plant or a tree, and they're living in that quantum reality, which is very positive. They're going to make different decisions when they know that the kid on the playground needs compassion instead of a swift kick or whatever it might be.
Which is what we grew up with, I think, for the most part, most of us, because now, so many years later, we understand so much more. And you're right, by teaching the children what we've learned, the positive aspects and this transformation, this change that we are going through, I think the key to our success and transformation into a new understanding, a new society, a new vibrational shift in frequency and love and light is through the children, Holly. I think you're absolutely right. And I think we all help do that.
No, definitely we do. And I personally don't worry about the future when I know that we really can make a difference. And while all the things that we say and do now as adults are great and they're making an impact, if you can make these elemental shifts and changes in perspective at a real level with these children from a very young age, they grow up making decisions differently. And I think they make it from a more naturally loving, harmonious place. And therefore, then their decisions will come from that place. And it's giving them different tools than we had to give them different decisions as they grow older, instead of making changes in their life when they're 40 or 50. And those changes are good, too, whenever we make them. But can you imagine if you knew that something you could do could help every living thing around you, and you knew that as an elemental part of who you were? It's like a given, just like you can get up and drink a glass of milk for breakfast. It's on that basic kind of level that they know they have a healing tool for themselves that can help themselves and others for the rest of their lives.
Well, I think that's fantastic, and I totally agree with you. Holly, Renee, why don't you all stick with me through the break here?
Well, Holly's got to go, but before she goes, I know you're going on break, but I would love for Holly to share her contact information, because this woman is gifted, amazingly gifted. Okay,
please do right away, because it's going to come up on break real quick here, like 30 seconds.
Okay,
Holly,
I'll have
please
her write
go
it
ahead.
down for me. I'll share it.
Thanks so much, Robert.
That's fine. Holly, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. I have an appointment, but I just stopped by, and it was so nice of you to let me join in. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. And everybody, please stay on the line. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Patino, and we will be right back after the break. Stick with us. This conversation is getting more fascinating by the moment. So we'll be right back after the break.
Okay, thanks.
Who had the spirit of Antichrist. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, naturally. And the world heareth them because it recognizes its own language. But we are of God. He that knoweth God heareth us.
These are the words of 20th century prophet A.W. Tozer. He is the author of over 40 books that you aren't likely to find at your local Christian bookseller. So where can you go to find such inspiration? Introducing Cornerstone Books, with the largest selection available of the writings of A.W. Tozer, Amy Carmichael, Richard Wurmbrand, and countless others. Cornerstone Books makes the truth available worldwide with the detail and personality of a local bookseller. Visit the website at www.cornerstone-unlimited.com for a complete inventory of its authors, as well as audio files and much, much more. That's www.cornerstone-unlimited.com. Or you can call toll-free at 888-239-9890. That's 888-239-9890.
It's hard to imagine when things are going reasonably well, just how quickly things can change. But what would it take? Economic collapse? Massive crop failure? Chemical or biological attack? So many situations could find you in the grocery looking to pick up food for your family only to find that the shelves are empty. There's nothing. Don't let that happen. Act today to make sure that if it ever comes to that, you and your family will be provided for. Visit freezedryguy.com to look at the wide variety of survival foods available. Freeze-dried foods from the Freeze Dry Guy store longer, rehydrate faster, are nutritionally superior to, and taste better than any other long-term storage food available. Visit freezedryguy.com or call toll-free 866-404-3663. freezedryguy.com.
Concerned about the quality of water you're drinking?
Water.com.
Concerned about the price and quality of bottled water?
Berkeywater.com.
Concerned about natural and or man-made contaminants in your water?
Berkeywater.com.
Berkeywater.com. Or call 888-803-4438.
That's 888-803-4438.
Berkey. Water you drink may not be as clean as you think.
Is that finished watching the game?
And welcome back, everybody, to the Whole Agenda. And I am your host, Robert Pepino, and my very special guest, and I'm very proud to call her my friend, RENEE Colston. And she is part of the Reconnection and planetary healing in partnership with animals on this planet.
You just got another taste of reconnective healing. Holly is also part of the international team. So
right, and I just wanted to add one more thing here before we get going, RENEE. I just wanted to give out the phone number again for anybody else who wants to call in. The number is 1-888-747-1968. And any questions you have or just comments, an idea, a thought, you're more than welcome to join this program, as that is the reason why this is called The Whole Agenda, because we're trying to figure it all out. Everybody brings a piece of the puzzle to the show, and we are trying to connect it as the overall picture. Go ahead, RENEE. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, hon.
That's okay. Now, I just wanted to mention that Holly is on the board of directors for Partnership in Planetary Healing, and she's developing some school programs and interactions with children, and we are going to be, putting information out to get out and back out into the school system, because in the 90s, actually in the early 2000s, we actually were in the school system talking consciousness and teaching children about energy and how they can impact the world outside of themselves, in their communities, in their classroom, their families, their friends, and beyond, all through energy. And so we are now reestablishing a higher level of teaching of universal principles and laws to the school system. So that'll be coming onto the website soon.
Go ahead, RENEE, please. You were going to say something.
Wonderful, but I forgot her name. Who was that? Who was the lady? Holly.
Holly.
Yes.
It does have her name all over it. She's the best. I mean, she's amazing. Her background is...
I love the idea of working with children because, of course, children are the future, the very future that we were talking about before.
And ladies, can we hold it for 1 second? Looks like we have another caller who wants to join into the conversation.
Great.
Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We have Nathan in Arizona also calling in. Nathan, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Just
You're very welcome.
I believe Renee was on, and she was talking about how to recycle, etc. But my main concern is how to make sure that I'm buying the food that's been properly prepared and taken care of. Can she give me any insight on that?
Well, I think the thing that we have to do, well, first of all, if you do your marketing and response, at a whole, well, can I name names, Robert?
Well, sure
right?
you can.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Trader Joe's and Whole Foods and stores like that, I think you can count on the quality on that. But beyond that, I think you need to really do some research on where the products are coming from. I mean, as a matter of fact, it wasn't that long ago that a meat, well, I don't really like to get into slaughterhouses, but the thing is, a lot of them have been closed down. But thank God. But it's because people became aware of what was going on. And those labels, the Internet, I'm not going to be able to say this company's good, this company is not good, but I have a friend of mine, Paul, who, he's very conscious about, knowing the marketplace on the eggs and the butter, the dairy products, and knowing are the chickens free range. And what does that mean, cage free? And does that mean that they're out there only for 5 minutes wandering around, or does it mean that they're 50 to a cage instead of 1 to a little crate? What does it mean? Well, you know what? I think that information is public, and I do think that it's accessible simply by going online and researching those companies. And there's reports. If you just Google a company that you have, say that there's a particular brand name that you buy all the time, you can get information about that company. It's public.
Okay.
But I would also like to add, Nathan, one of the biggest things I always look for is the GMO foods. In other words, I always look to see if a product has high fructose corn syrup in it. That's one of the biggest things because that is a cancer-causing carcinogen, which is absolutely horrid for your health. So that's one of the main things I look for. And by the way, the plastic bottles that are produced by these companies, they produce a byproduct from that plastic bottle that when it is absorbed by sunlight, it also, and I can't remember the name of it, asphalt. I'm trying to remember the name. Gosh, it's slipping my mind right now. But what happens is in the sunlight, that plastic, the chemical inside the plastic breaks down, and it also is a cancer-causing agent. So those are some of the things that I would look into before purchasing a product.
And the products that we put on our bodies, if you use shaving lotion, you use soaps, you use hand lotion, cream, anything that you put on your body, if you look at the labels, the companies that are not using animals in their laboratory for testing, they say so most of them say so on their labels.
And now I remember what I wanted to say. It's phenol A. That's what it is. And that's what you need to be aware of.
And
that's in all plastics? Or?
Yes, in almost all plastics.
The other thing to be very aware of, all the snacks, okay, what we call junk foods, they are made with olestra. And olestra is a synthetic oil, okay? So it's all manipulated, and that causes a lot of problem in digestion, diarrhea, and people get sick from that. So basically, I always read all the labels when I buy something, make sure that the right things are there, and I usually do most of my shopping in 95% organic, and the organic, they usually guarantee it has to say right on it. That's the only thing that I could suggest.
Do I hear television in the background?
Nathan, you wanted to ask some more questions? Nathan, you with us? Well, looks like we lost Nathan.
I think he got what he wanted.
I think so.
Really. Read the labels.
That's
Research
right.
the companies that you're supporting. You know, it's easy to find out. I mean, we have this World Wide Web now. There isn't anything that's private any longer.
Well,
You're right.
Renee, even some of the vitamins that are out there, they're synthetic.
They're not
and a lot of
yes.
people don't know that. You know, instead of getting the real vitamins, they're made synthetically, and we're throwing away money. And another thing that I discovered also, the dates that they put on, you buy a certain date. Well, most of the aspirins and vitamins and so on and so forth, they're on account, but they're good for another 4 or 5 years. But basically the pharmaceutical companies that do that on purpose, they put the earlier date so people say, oh my God, this is expired. They just throw it out and then go out and buy some more. It's horrifying, what they do. But,
and we have to be
smart. You have to be smart. You have to do your homework yourself and figure a lot of things out. Don't trust everything. Sometimes even the biggest labels that we are familiar with, that's not what's in there and what they're giving us. And especially sugars. Let's not talk about sugars. That's horrible. Sugar in everything that's on the shelves.
And we have to be equally aware about the animal or about the pet food that we buy.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the what?
We have to be equally aware about the food that we are allowing our pets to consume.
Absolutely. Just today I went to buy some pet food for the cats, and I bought it all natural. Real
I
chicken
don't
and
know
so
that
on.
it's I think that the reason that animals get cancer anymore is because of the diets that we started feeding them years ago.
Well, you know what?
If
we're up to me, because a long, long time ago I had a cat. Her name was Pee-wee. I didn't buy her any prepared cat food. I used to make fresh food for her. I used to give her a liver. I used to make it just for her, and then other foods left over from that. She was a very healthy cat. I did not believe or trust, what they put in these bags today. So, but everybody has choices, as we said before. And it's a question of being aware of things. That's the most important, to be aware.
That's right.
Yeah. And once you're aware, then you're able to make a intelligent decision.
And nobody can create your own awareness better than you can. We just have to take the responsibility to become aware.
Yeah.
Well,
but we're also facing something else. We do so much to put on the table good food for our family, okay? I, for one, I cook from scratch every day, okay? So my family eats very well, and what I do buy is top of the line, as I just discussed. But, on the other hand, the air that we're breathing, well, what that's doing to us, the water that we're drinking with the fluoride, there are a lot of things, and I wish they would do something about it, like the state of Florida did. Not the state, but there was a town in Florida to get the fluoride out of the water. Fluoride in toothpaste, of course I don't use that either, but I use the natural one and so on and so forth. But there's a lot of things that's bringing on illness to the people, and the people are not aware of what's really doing. Of course, stress is number one. The stress that we create ourselves and partially created by others because of the workforce or what's going on with the banking systems and the whole economic scenario today. So there's lots of things why people get sick. And I believe that stress, unhappiness, and bad food is the number one killer that brings on a lot of diseases.
I agree with you. And do you know that stress and depression can come through the very products that we are putting in our bodies and what we are consuming?
That is correct. Because that's depression.
It's back to personal responsibility.
But it's also the people that indulge so much in drinking, okay? They never would think that actually by drinking, they are getting depressed because once that alcohol goes to the liver, the alcohol delivers poison into the brain. And once it goes up there, the neurons don't work or function. They don't function properly anymore. They become angry. And from that anger, you are getting what? You are getting stress and depression. So that will cause the body to break down also. Now, I'm not a nurse. I'm not a medical doctor. These are just normal information that most people know. But it's just a question of being aware. I'm aware of everything. I'm aware when I walk. I look at the trees and the sun and the flowers and the people. I'm aware of the car next to me. I'm aware of the food that I'm buying. I'm aware of the smiles of the others. You have to be aware of everything. Awareness is very, very important.
And you know, everything is a vibration. And
Correct.
we vibrate, and our health depends upon the hertz level that we are vibrating at. And when we are consuming processed foods, alcohol, lower vibratory food and beverage, we lower our hertz level, and that is when dis-ease can settle in. If we are not vibrating at our optimum levels, then that is when disease happens.
Well, the other thing, Renee, also is that most people today, and unfortunately a lot of the children today, don't get enough exercise because they're sitting down either by a computer or a TV. Now, years ago, when my children were growing up and when I was growing up, we played outside for hours and hours, invented our own games. We used our minds, our imagination, and we were very, very healthy. Now, today's children, they're 3, 4 years old. They're computer wizards.
Well, ladies, I wanted to add something here real quick, okay?
Yes.
To the fact of what we're talking about, the foods and the stress. Now, I will tell you this, that I've known people who have eaten healthy their whole lives, who came down with cancer, people who have never smoked, who died from lung cancer, people who exercised their whole life, who had massive coronaries. I think it's the stress level that this planet has been put under through the structure. Okay, I'll just use the word structure from the manipulators who want the game all for themselves. Because if we were not under that kind of stress to produce more and more and more for their needs, not our needs, their needs, we would be living to 150 to 200 to 300 years on this planet right now, in this physical structure we live in, this body, this vessel that we encapsulate through our structure.
There are some towns in Italy, for instance, where people live to be 110, 115. These are small towns, so their way of life is totally different than the big city. They're very much at peace with themselves. They don't have too much worries. They grow their own food. They know what they're eating. And you know what? And I think one of the major things that we have to learn is be content with what we have. Not that we want always more, because that is one of the major reasons that has created stress. Because on Wall Street and the advertisements, people that watch TV, you have to have this, and there's something newer, and this is better. There's another iPod, and my neighbor has it, and on it goes. We need to let go of the physical. Well, I can't say physical, but of the nonsense things that they're out on the market, and after you acquire them, they really are a bunch of junk.
Well, Renee, that's exactly what I said earlier.
You know, I'm having a hard time hearing Renee, actually, the other Renee.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just saying that's what I had said earlier. All the nonsensical things have been created.
Yeah. And people take it, I must have it. Have instant gratification. Well, I don't believe in that because there's really no gratification. You think so at that moment because it's an actual illusion, but there is no gratification. The only gratification that comes from true love of yourself, love of your family, love of your neighbors, and always try to help others as much as you can without asking for anything in return. And I think that if we do that, if we follow that path, we all will be a better people, a better world down the line. And I'm very happy to hear about the children because they are the future, and if they go into this path, it will be wonderful.
Well, Renee, I thank you for calling in.
Yeah.
And I just want to finish up with Renee here because we only have about 10 minutes left or so.
Okay. Well, I need to hang up because my cell phone is, I'm about to lose the last part. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Actually,
well, Renee, there's quite a bit there.
There is quite a bit there, isn't there?
I would definitely say so.
Well, and you know, on the hertz level of the physical body, when you have a good, healthy hertz level, you're vibrating at a healthy vibrational frequency, you heal much quicker as well. It doesn't mean that you don't necessarily get sick, but it means you can recover quicker. We have 20 people here from the team for the reconnection this week for training. 20. That's the team.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
And, well, associate instructors and instructors. There's more team out there, but the highest level team. And we were doing a little survey on, our health conditions and things that we've noticed in our lives since we've become involved in this work and we interact with these frequencies. And the question was posed to us by Doug DeVito. How many of you have noticed that you get sick less or you recover quicker if you get a cold? And really, we don't get sick. 20 of our hands went up. We don't get sick. Or maybe our immune system is so just strong because we are engaged in interacting with these frequencies on a regular basis that if there is some sort of a virus or bacteria that gets in, our system kicks in, goes to battle, and just fights it off. And I'm going to say that it isn't that we're all eating vegetarian. It's not. It's not that we don't have our fair share of cocktails in the bar on our nights off. That's not it. We're not living the life of monks. We are living fairly normal.
Right.
You're
human. We're all human beings, exactly.
Yeah, but we're resonating at a good vibrational frequency, a good hertz level that just keeps our body in balance. And honest to God, that's it. Living a life of balance. And there is so much imbalance back to, the manipulators and the companies and, all those with agendas. I mean, basically they're out of balance and they're, creating imbalance on the planet. But I still am saying that I believe that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we're not going with the light, that we're not seeing. I would just like to be more aware of it and see the results more quickly because, again, it's almost November of 2011.
It is, isn't it?
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Somebody said something about Manly P. Hall today and about some of his works.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
And I said, oh, yeah, his books are amazing. And she goes, well, he just died in 1990. I went, 1990? Holly, it was. I said, 1990? That wasn't just yesterday.
Yeah, that was 21 years ago?
Exactly. So anyway, things are shifting and changing, and I just offer that we know there's always hope. As long as we're breathing, Robert, there's hope. As long as there's people who are still, functioning from their hearts and reaching out to help others to restore hope in their lives, I still think that we can pull ourselves out of this. And
I think you're right.
Stay out of the negativity and be positive and keep.
And let me interject something here, Renee, because I love you to death. You're a friend of mine. You are a friend, and I met you through a mutual friend. And you're just a wonderful person. You're so upbeat and always positive. And I tend to focus on the negativity at times. You know that about me because these sociopaths are what they've done, and I'm trying to get away from that negativity. I really am. But we started doing roundtables. I think I mentioned it earlier this evening. I don't know if you heard it, but every Friday evening, starting in mid-November, myself, Ed Grimsley, Ed is co-hosting with me. We're doing roundtables, and I'd love for you to be part of it because I'm going to bring all different perspectives to the whole agenda. to interject and bring forth ideas so we can traverse this heinous and hideous process that has been, that we've been living in for the last, 500 years, whatever it is, through these satanic, sadistic monsters. But put that aside, I think you'd be a wonderful, wonderful partner to the roundtable. I'd love you to join us if it's at all possible for you.
That'd be great.
Well, that's wonderful.
As long as I'm somewhere, on this side of the planet.
Yeah, well, whatever. We can work that out.
Yeah, so this is every Friday night.
Yeah, it's going to be every Friday night starting mid-November. So whenever, if you're not in town, that's fine. But whenever you're in town, you just give me a call and say, hey, Robert, I'm in town, and I'd love to do the roundtable. I'd love to have you with us.
That sounds great, Robert.
Okay, well, I want you to do me a favor because we got like 2 minutes left. I want you to give out your information, how they can get a hold of you, and how they can find your website for the Partnership Planetary Healing and the Reconnection.
Great. Okay, so the website for Partnership and Planetary Healing is piphealing.org. It is a not-for-profit organization. My website is RENEECOLSTON.com. I think that's probably on your website.
It
is.
The
Reconnection, if you want to learn more about, this fabulous work we keep bringing up, is www.thereconnection.com. I also I hope you all have a pencil. I do want to share Holly's contact information because, I know there's parents out there and there's school teachers out there, and we're looking for ways to share this with the children and be more upbeat with them. Holly can also be reached through her website, which is www.akasha, that's AKASHA, healingstudio.com. And her phone number, I guess I'll give this out, is area code 760-803-4297. And her and I will, we're going to co-create some programs for schools and children, and she's a lot more active in the Reconnective Kids program than I am, although I am a facilitator for Reconnective Kids as well as animals. And of course, we've put them together. Holly and I have co-created programs where we are teaching children responsibility for the planet and their pet-keeping skills.
Well, that's wonderful. And Renee, I want to thank you so much, and I cherish you. You're a wonderful person. I'm honored to call you my friend. I hope the rest of the seminar and the weekend goes absolutely wonderful for you. And hopefully I will talk to you within a week or so.
Okay, Robert. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, and God bless you. And everybody, this has been the Whole Agenda radio show with my very good friend, Renee Colston, and part of the Partnership in Healing for the Planet and the Reconnection with, she's part of the Reconnection with Dr. Pearl and Doug DeVito. And I want to thank everybody for listening to this program. And tomorrow evening, we are going to have Bob Oliver of the Quantum Leap radio show, and he's got some incredible information for everybody. So I hope you all join us tomorrow evening. I want to thank every one of you, each and every one of you, for listening to this broadcast. Take care of yourself, be safe, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Bye-bye.
It's hard to imagine when things are going reasonably well, just how quickly things can change. But what would it take? Economic collapse, massive crop failure, chemical or biological attack? So many situations could find you in the grocery looking to pick up food for your family only to find that the shelves are empty. There's nothing. Don't let that happen. Act today to make sure that if it ever comes to that, you and your family will be provided for. Visit freezedryguy.com to look at the wide variety of survival foods available. Freeze-dried foods from the Freeze Dry Guy store longer, rehydrate faster, are nutritionally superior to, and taste better than any other long-term storage food available. Visit freezedryguy.com or call toll-free 866-404-3663. freezedryguy.com.
Concerned about the quality of water your is drinking?
PerkyWater.com.
Concerned about the price and quality of bottled water?
PerkyWater.com.
Concerned about natural and or man-made contaminants in your water?
PerkyWater.com.
PerkyWater.com.